Goswami on the debate at 9. Presented by Amity University. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka, Century Club Prime and Policy Bazaar. Co-powered by Belkolu.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. Controversy is raging around the Supreme Court once again. So much controversy around the country's highest court all the time is not good. And most unfortunately, all this controversy happens every time on the eve of every election, especially the general elections. And the Supreme Court of India is willy-nilly dragged into political issues, and that's not good either. It's very bad. I've always maintained that it is wrong to use the Supreme Court rooms to fight political battles. But it happens all the time. And now it's getting very intense, the political controversies around the Supreme Court. 600 lawyers saying that there is a concerted attempt to surround the Supreme Court with pressure tactics. Pressurize the courts, to smear the courts. And with all of this happening, with the hashtag Supreme Court controversy, we must address this burning issue. What are these political parties fighting about? If the fight is over money and access to money, if the fight is over whether some parties are getting more money and others are getting less money, and the fight is over whether you got more money, I got more money, you got these many crores, I got these many crores, ladies and gentlemen, fight it out in the public arena. Why make the Supreme Court the center over a fight over money? What is this fight about, really? Is it about whether the PMLA Act should be used against scam kingpins? Then why drag the courts into it? Were other people like Naresh Trehan or Jet Airways or Wadhwans of DHFL who are accused of grave misdeeds themselves not held under the same laws? Which political parties were they contributing to? Let's not imagine that all these fights are happening in a vacuum. They are not technical fights. They're in the real and political world. And these fights should not extend to the Supreme Court premises. The courts have said, of course the courts will say that their shoulders are broad enough to absorb any kind of criticism or pressure tactics. But can the courts themselves deny that such tactics are being made? Can the courts not see that it is the same people using the same tactics, getting the support of the same sections of the media, and operating in those very same echo chambers every time there is a general election? What's going on? What's going on? Political fights in the middle of the Supreme Court. Attempts to drag the Supreme Court in the middle of all this. So amidst this latest Supreme Court controversy, hashtag Supreme Court controversy, my question is very elementary. Has the country's highest court become the arena of the pre-election battle of 2024? Is that what we want, viewers? Will this institution also see all the politicians using it to fight each other? Come on, fight an election. Don't fight proxy battles in the Supreme Court of India. Debate number 1 tonight. 600 lawyers allege pressure on the Supreme Court. Prime Minister calls out the attempt to browbeat the courts. That's debate number 1. Huge hashtag Supreme Court controversy. Debate number 2 tonight. The United States of America is backing the AAP and Congress openly. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should also start openly talking about what's happening to Trump. Debate number 2 tonight. Debate number 3. Posh casteism. Posh and reverse casteism in one of India's most expensive campuses. What an irony. Debate number 3. And here are the headlines this Thursday evening on the Debate Tonight. As 600 lawyers talk about the pressure on the Supreme Court, the Prime Minister calls out the attempt to browbeat and bully. Meanwhile, big setback for Kejriwal as the Delhi court extend custody by 4 more days in connection with Liquorgate. The United States of America tries to lecture India, calls for transparent processes on Kejriwal's arrest, and also backs the Congress party's fight on the account freeze issue. Open casteism on the Ashoka University campus as the students resort to posh casteism. Raise anti-Brahmin, anti-Baniya slogans on the campus. After a 14-year break, Govinda is back in politics. And Mohua Maitra confronted by Republic Bangla as she avoids the Enforcement Directorate summons. Ladies and gentlemen, first, hashtag Supreme Court controversy. Truly, this is being discussed for the last few days. It's become obvious. Overtones, undertones, discussions, media reports, comments, fights. And now you have, in the middle of this raging hashtag Supreme Court controversy, 600 eminent jurists writing to the Chief Justice of India expressing their deepest concern over what they call vested interest groups trying to put pressure on the judiciary. The Prime Minister also had to weigh in today amidst the hashtag Supreme Court controversy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a serious matter. Let's debate.
Aspersions on the Supreme Court, one of the most revered institutions.
They have not simply got rid of Article 370. They have dismembered the state of Jammu and Kashmir by mischievously misinterpreting both Article 3 of the Constitution and Article 370 of the Constitution.
हम इस जजमेंट से सेटिस्फाइड नहीं है। मेरा मानना यह है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट सुप्रीम ज़रूर है मगर इनफेलेबल नहीं है। हम अपने एक लीगल हक के लिए लड़ रहे थे। हमको किसी से खैरात की ज़रूरत नहीं है 5 एकड़ ज़मीन की।
600 eminent lawyers have now written to the Chief Justice over the issue.
हमारे जैसे वकील हम डिफर कर सकते हैं व्यूज के, जुडिशरी के जो जजमेंट को हम कह सकते हैं कि ये ठीक नहीं किया, परंतु हम उनके कार्य करने के और उनको ये सर्टिफिकेट देने के एंटाइटल नहीं है कि अच्छा कर रहे हैं या गंदा कर रहे हैं। रिलीफ दे दिया तो बहुत अच्छा है, नहीं मिला तो गलत है। हमारी जुडिशरी कानून के अंतर्गत काम करती है।
With even the Prime Minister weighing in on the issue. Not just the government, some even in the opposition backed the move.
It's very alarming and very disturbing to read this story because India is a free country. Our forefathers have fought the British to get freedom into this country, and if in the most important out of the 4 pillars, our judiciary is one of the most critical pillars of our freedom movement. And if that a lot of lawyers feel is compromised, it's extraordinarily alarming and worrisome.
Is there an attempt to selectively undermine the judiciary? Let's debate.
First of all, I would like to begin by saying that this is a very serious matter. Nobody even likes to use a hashtag like this. I mean, Supreme Court in controversy, controversy around Supreme Court, hashtag Supreme Court controversy, but it's become a fact. After this letter, and then the Prime Minister being forced to weigh in on the situation, and the Prime Minister also saying that there's an attempt to browbeat. This is not good. It's not good, Abhishek.
I don't see why you have to retweet it though. I mean, by
why you don't see why the Prime Minister had to retweet?
If he's retweeted it, he's made it a out and out political battle. Because he is endorsing what the 500 lawyers, 600 lawyers are saying.
What is wrong in what the lawyers have said?
And one of the signatories is Harish Salve, who's argued the electoral bonds case.
No, what is wrong in what the lawyers have said?
So is the Prime Minister criticizing the electoral bonds judgment? Which he has also done at a rally, mind you. He has said that they will start saying Sudama was also corrupt because all I'm doing is asking for donations. Now, you have somebody who was Solicitor General under the BJP, Harish Salve, who is a signatory to this letter. This is a full-on assault on the Supreme Court, Mr.
May I now come in with my view? You know, you are taking outrage at the fact that the Prime Minister has retweeted it. The Prime Minister is also a citizen of the country and holds the highest post in government. He has every right to have a view. And if the Prime Minister feels also there is an attempt to browbeat the judiciary, he's coming out in defense of the judiciary. Now, having said that, please, I have seen many podcasts of late. It's become the trend nowadays, Sanju, you know, podcast. PMLA is bad, remove PMLA, application of PMLA, courts are not giving relief, courts are not doing their duty, courts are failing the people of the country, Supreme Court is not listening to us. For God's sake, was it the same PMLA under which Naresh Goyal and Rana Kapoor have been put in jail?
Who's saying
that? Have it been?
It's a
was it? No, 1 minute, please. Abhishek, 1 minute. Abhishek, 1 minute. Abhishek, 1 minute. 1 minute. Listen, I am not going to ask. I am not going to ask who Naresh Goyal and Rana Kapoor were giving money to. I am not going to ask that question. But I will ask. Podcast to malign? You malign?
Who?
You malign the judiciary? Oh, judiciary is not giving us relief. Is the judiciary bound to give you relief? And if you don't get relief, this campaign starts.
But this letter,
the credibility of the courts. The credibility. Allow me to complete my point tonight, please. Allow me to complete my point. The court's credibility. The court's credibility is being affected. 1 minute.
Sanju, has Prime Minister Modi drafted this letter?
Outrageous.
Has the Prime Minister drafted this letter? That's my
outrageous.
Why is he tweeting it?
Outrageous.
Why is he endorsing
outrageous. He agrees with it.
He is not an ordinary
He's agreeing
citizen.
with it.
He is the head of the executive leading an assault on the judiciary.
What is happening is very
He is the head of the executive wing of the government, leading an assault on the judiciary, which is also a wing of the government.
You see, I'll say one thing before I come to you. What is happening here, viewers, is these lawyers get a lot of money. And they get so much money. They get so much money that the clients expect them to win. And then these lawyers who get a lot of money go to the courts, charge a lot of money. Money. And after having charged a lot of money, go lose the case. So they are losing their credibility with their own clients, because the clients say, we're giving you a lot of money and you're losing the case.
Show me the money.
So you're losing the case.
Show me the money.
You say, 1 minute. Why make a serious point? You are losing credibility with your clients and you're blaming the credibility of the courts.
Who is they? Harish Salve is blaming the court.
I am not. I am saying here tonight the lobby, which is losing cases despite getting a lot of money. And they can't win the case. Therefore, they want to question the courts. And that is what is happening. Sanju is on the debate. Abhishek, you had an uninterrupted and unfortunate run for the last 7 minutes. Sanju, he says the Prime Minister should not have endorsed the letter.
You know, Arnab, I think ever since Prime Minister Modi has taken charge at the helm of affairs in 2014, immediately within a year, we saw in 2015 the unfortunate Akhlaq lynching case. And then you had this award Wapsi gang, led from the forefront by the likes of Nayantara Sehgal, Uday Prakash, Javed Akhtar, Shabana Azmi, Shabnam Hashmi, Mangesh Dabral, so on and so forth. Now, what I want to tell you is, more importantly, your audience, is that ever since 2014, what has been the narrative that has been peddled by the other side? And when I say the other side, I don't just mean the Congress, the TMC, the DMK or political parties, but I also mean an entire cabal, an entire ecosystem of YouTubers, which is the famous epithet given by Arnab Goswami, and what Prime Minister Modi called the perennial Khan market pessimists. Look at it. The moment Supreme Court doubted the credibility of the Chandigarh election result and said what Anil Masih had done was wrong, nobody from the BJP came forward, and I've been on a zillion debates. None of us said, we doubt the validity of the Supreme Court. Why did Supreme Court castigate Anil Masih in no uncertain terms? But when the same Supreme Court refuses to give relief to a Sanjay Singh, a Manish Sisodia, or a Satinder Jain, or an Arvind Kejriwal, the entire lobby is up in arms. They even doubt the bona fides of CJI Chandrachud. I remember a couple of years back, there was this famous demonetization judgment. Demonetization has had, people from both ends of the spectrum, people who think it was a great disruptive, measure, and some who feel that it failed. Now, be that as it may, Justice B.R. Gawai said that the Modi government, when it came to demonetization, it was a very well-intentioned move which largely achieved its objectives. The entire lobby came hard on B.R. Gawai, doubting B.R. Gawai's credibility. Then very recently, I have been...
Retweet the letter. Why is the Prime Minister attacking Chief Justice Chandrachud on Twitter? Can you answer that?
I don't want to shout with Abhishek because, I think he's sitting in the studio. He's sitting in the studio and he's howling. Abhishek, I did not heckle you. Let me finish, then you can rebut. I just have this to say. This is the same lobby.
Answer the question.
You are not somebody who I am accountable to. It is Arnab Goswami who's the anchor. You are not the anchor. Abhishek, please don't, hallucinate.
Let him. I am not allowed you to interrupt, so please, let me put me on air, please. Otherwise, you get tempted to interrupt. Continue, please.
Can I just finish
gave you the introductory
seconds?
round. I want to get everyone in, please. Thank you.
This is the same lobby. This is the same lobby which never raised even a, squeak when Arnab Goswami was arrested. But this is the same lobby, the same Lutyens gang, the same Awad Wapsi gang, the same, Hathras gang, which when Siddharth Vardarajan ke khilaf the BJP said in the fake tech fog story, we are going to investigate you, the Editors Guild, it went berserk. This is the same lobby which will raise its voice against Kathua, and rightfully so, but will not speak a word against Sandesh Khali. This is the same lobby which will speak about some,
you want to answer the question,
guys
Will you answer why the Prime Minister retweeted it?
One minute. Abhishek.
This is the same lobby which will say that some guys wearing a saffron bandana chanting Jai Shri Ram, that is weaponization of Jai Shri Ram, but they don't have the guts or the gall or the audacity to question Shah Jahan Sheikh. They will continue to mollycoddle him. And this is the same lobby which will question Abhijit Ganguly joining the BJP after resigning from the Calcutta High Court, but they will not talk about an Abhay Khipse who did not even spend 1 month as cooling off period, and immediately after retiring from Bombay High Court,
a sitting judge joins you the next day, we're not supposed to question.
And this is the same
A sitting High Court judge joins your party, you're not supposed to question.
Can I get everyone on, please? Thank you.
Changasi, when Narendra Modi was
I would like to quote the following people.
20-year imprisonment sentence.
I would like to make the following quote. Why Adish?
You have to mention this, Arnab. There was an entire lobby which said that Sanjeev Bhatt was wrongfully incarcerated. Today, the court has clearly said that in the narcotics case, Sanjeev Bhatt is due for a 20-year imprisonment sentence. And I think the lobby must be burning. The lobby must be rattled. कि संजीव भट्ट और पोस्टर बॉय who implicated Narendra Modi, इसको कैसे कोर्ट से रियायत नहीं मिली?
Calcutta High Court as candidates.
Okay, 1 minute. Now, can both of you pull back, please? Point being made, Adish Agarwal,
Yes.
who is with me on the program today.
Yes.
Your video went viral recently when you were pulled up by the Chief Justice of India. That video went viral. You were pulled up by the Chief Justice of India. And now you write a letter saying that the Supreme Court is under pressure. You are the President of the International Council of Jurists London, Chairman of the All India Bar Association and President of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Sir, why are you writing this letter to the Chief Justice? Because Mr. Agarwal, it is very embarrassing. The Chief Justice himself said, my shoulders are broad enough. I can manage the pressure. We can manage the pressure. Are you embarrassing the Chief Justice of India by writing this letter to him? Is this a fallout of the electoral bonds case?
First of all, no. I welcome the decision of the Honorable Supreme Court on electoral reform. And, no voice nahi aa rahi. Hello. And I also, but only on the point of procedure, and that was actually not the mistake committed by the Honorable Supreme Court. It was the mistake committed by the advocate on record of the petitioner, Mr. Prashant Bhushan. Because as per law, we are having the advocate on record in Supreme Court. They are supposed to pass the examination. and they should tell the procedure to the court, because judges are coming from different high courts. They were not practicing as an advocate on record. So I pointed out that lacuna was there, and actually I was not pulled down by Honorable CJ. He was very calm. He just pointed out, as Adish Agarwala has written a letter, I was empowered to do so, but court found that it is too late because already orders have been passed. It is so whatever we have to obey the direction decision of the Honorable Court. We should not protest like what Mr. Kapil Sibal tried to do.
But whatever, should
when
these
he
matters
could not
become
get
public
the bail
matters?
order
The question being,
from the Supreme Court.
let me say, Mr. Agarwal, you see, both things are bad.
Yeah.
Attempts to,
No.
both things are bad, I feel. First attempt, I believe that of late, in the last 2-3 years, 1.5, 2 years particularly, as the opposition has become weaker, there is an attempt to make the Supreme Court feel or give an impression that the Supreme Court is the opposition of the country. There is an attempt to say, you are the guiding star, you are the light, you are the hope, you are the beacon, you are the road, you are everything. There is no opposition, only you can save us from the Narendra Modi government. There is this feeling. I'm being very clear about it. And that is bad. That is bad for anyone, and for such flattery to be directed at anyone, including the Supreme Court, is, I believe, not good for any institution, especially the judiciary. I think it's dangerous.
Yes.
And the second point being, over-criticism is also bad. Supreme Court is terrible. Supreme Court is bad. Kapil Sibal saying there is no hope in the left in the institution of the judiciary. Kapil Sibal, after all these years of practice, good or bad, he may have lost a lot of cases, but to go and say, if you think that you will get relief from the Supreme Court, you are usually mistaken. I don't know, Mr. Sibal, why, how can you talk like this? I got relief from the Supreme Court, and I got it despite you. Because you lost the case, are you frustrated at that? Will you say that tomorrow, that we should not expect justice from the Supreme Court? What kind of precedent is being set out here? Prashant Bhushan says, when historians in the future look back at the last 6 years to see how democracy has been destroyed, they will mark the role of the Supreme Court, and in this destruction, particularly the role of the last 4 CGIs. Why? Why? Because of the Ayodhya verdict? Why? Because of the Judge Loya verdict? Why? Because the court did not give an interim stay in the implementation of the CAA? Why? Because the court supported the abrogation of Article 370? Why? Because the court took a pro-India stance in the aftermath of the Republic Day violence? Why? Because the court said, don't come crying to us with your political matters. These matters are not in the judicial realm. It's terrible what's going on. Both, both. It's terrible. I mean, imagine today this letter in the middle of this raging controversy right now. We should keep the courts free of any controversy, Pankaj. And today there will be controversy. You know, Justice Chandrachud in the middle of the controversy, letters being written, somebody is pressurizing you, somebody is not pressurizing you, do this, don't do this. I mean, what's going on, Pankaj? Fight these matters I've never seen a time where this acidic environment is created and we pull the Supreme Court in the middle of all this. Why, Pankaj?
Yeah.
Who gains?
Yes,
Who
it
gains,
is so
Pankaj?
astonishing.
You guys can't win an election, so you want to fight elections within the Supreme Court premises.
See, it is so astonishing that one of the highest paid senior counsels with enormous global repute is probably a descendant of Shalivahanan dynasty desperately needs to assemble 600 odd indescribable lawyers to make a superfluous noise about an imaginary vested interest group, which according to him, trying to put pressure on judiciary. In reality, everyone is aware about men who are leaving no stone unturned for past many years to misuse all the available investigative as well as judicial forums. And we all know it. And much more stunning is the fact that the Prime Minister of the largest democracy jumps into this within a few hours, not only to endorse the baseless views expressed in the letter, but went one step ahead and exploited the occasion to purposely attack the main opposition party. What did he say? He said in his tweet that browbeat and bully others is vintage Congress culture. Really? Isn't it actually the other way around?
Yes.
Ask anyone, and she will tell you how deep the roots of crudeness, of intimidation, and rowdiness have gone in past 1 decade. Prime Minister is not right. And
Your
he says
Congress
that
party
5
even
decades ago,
doubted
Congress had called
the
for a
surgical
committed
strike of
judiciary.
2016.
Indira Gandhi never ever called for a committed judiciary. When in Keshwanand Bharti case, the Supreme Court ruled that Parliament's right to amend the Constitution didn't include the right to tamper with its structure. Indira Gandhi appointed Justin A.N. Ray as Chief Justice in 1973. At time, her government was accused of trying to establish a committed judiciary by the opposition, the then opposition. But Indira Gandhi never ever called for any committed judiciary. The letter by these 600 lawyers say a vested interest group trying to put pressure on the judiciary and defame courts on the basis of frivolous logic and stale political agendas.
That is a classic example of committed judiciary.
Calling electoral bonds a stale issue? Are you saying Manipur is a dead issue? It should not be discussed? Do you want to say autonomy of constitutional institutions is a musty issue and should not be raised? Are you saying protection of the dignity of the elected representatives is a stereotype issue and should have no place in our public discourse?
The judicial system
health of our economy, use joblessness,
for the longest time.
Price rise,
So you
all
don't
these
have any
issues,
moral high ground
which should
to
not
sit
be-
here
what is
and
the
lecture
stale
Narendra
issue?
Modi or Amit Shah or the BJP. If you have the
Guruji,
guts,
it is not a
just
false
condemn
narrative
Bahul
that
Islam.
there is a
If you have the guts,
It
condemn
is not a
Justice
false narrative
Aftab
that
Alam.
there was a
If you have
golden
the
period
guts,
of our
condemn
courts,
Zia
which is
Krishna
fast
Iyer.
diminishing.
If you have the guts,
The fact
condemn
that
Hasnain
any
Masoodi.
comments
These
made
are all
by
judges
by
who were
very
affiliated to either
important
the Congress
functionaries
or the
of
CPM or
current
the then
ruling
Janata Party.
administration were
And
aimed
became
at
think
one
that-
influencing
judgment
courts
after
and
another
I think
against
using
the
them for
BJP,
political
but the BJP
gains in
I think
recent
that-
years.
victim card. इसलिए victim
Certainly,
card खेलना
I think-
पड़ेगा।
I think
the
that,
atmosphere of trust and harmony.
I mean, you people have been attacking the Supreme Court for the longest time, attacking them right, left, and center on everything. And if somebody writes a letter to the Supreme Court, if Adish Agarwal writes a letter saying, Honorable Chief Justice of India, the judiciary is under threat, it is put under political and professional pressure, and we are all very concerned about political agendas running out in the court, I am sure the Chief Justice, Honorable Chief Justice, is more than aware of it, that there are interest groups that are operating. And I'm sure that he will deal with it. But he will not deny that they don't exist. If I had a chance to interview him, that is the first question I would ask him.
No,
And I'm sure he would not deny that they don't exist. But the fact is, he said, I can handle it. My question is, my question is, 1 minute, Abhishek. First of all, I'm very concerned about the attack on Mr. Salve. I'm phenomenally fond of him, of course. But I also want us to understand that when Harish Salve signs a letter, it carries a tremendous amount of weight. Mr. Mitra, we are talking about Harish Salve. And Harish Salve is the person who took 1 rupee, right, when the International Court of Justice passed the verdict that Kulbhushan Jadhav should get consular access. Harish Salve appeared for the Gujarat riot victims and represented Bilkis Bano as well. Harish Salve is the person who represented a law student in the famous freedom of speech and expression case where draconian section 66A, right, of the Information Technology Act was struck down. We are talking about a living legend. Harish Salve said no to representing Italy in court. He stepped down from representing Italy in the Italian Marines case when the government of Italy did not return 2 Marines to India. This is a man of principle. He has represented India in the UK High Court. He has represented India in the ICJ. No, what I'm saying is, I condemn the petty attack by Prashant Bhushan on Harish Salve in a personal manner just because Prashant Bhushan may not have the acumen right now to question him. I want to say in court during the hearing in the Judge Loya case. Do we not know? He said if that is true, we might as well wind up the judiciary. 4 district level judges and 2 high court judges stated they were present when Judge Loya was murdered, or when he was passed away. Is it being suggested they are conspirators to the murder? I mean, these are the words of Harish Salve. We must understand. This is terrible. And this is going to become big because Harish Salve has signed it.
Those who have signed the letter have ideological bias.
You may. Okay,
Prashant
so
Bhushan has an ideological bias. Harish Salve has an ideological bias.
I'm sorry.
He was Solicitor General appointed by the BJP. He has taken a pro-BJP line for the past several years.
What is
yes,
How many times has
of
Abhishek
course it is.
What
You're
is
saying
Prashant
he has
Bhushan,
appeared within the
and then the
electoral
likes of
bond.
Rajiv
Are Kapil
Bhatt,
Sibal
and
is
then
from
the
the
likes of
Congress,
Indira
Manu Singh is
Jaising,
from the Congress.
who went knocking on
Sanju
the
is on the debate. Sanju is on the debate. Sanju is on the debate. There is pressure. There are issues.
Those who have signed the letter have a clear ideological bias. They're all with the ruling party. There's no doubt about it. Pinky Anand is with the ruling party. All these lawyers are with the ruling party. What is wrong? If you are saying that Manu Singh and Sibal are with the Congress, these lawyers are with the BJP.
solidarity with the judiciary and says
This is a politically motivated letter which the Prime Minister tweets in the middle of an election. The model code of conduct is in place and the executive is attacking the judiciary on Twitter. You are attacking the judiciary on Twitter. You are putting pressure on the judiciary. Are you scared that Arvind Kejriwal will get bail? Are you scared Arvind Kejriwal will get bail from the Supreme Court? Is that why you're trying to pressure the Supreme Court? Is that why the Prime Minister is trying to pressure the Supreme Court? You're saying don't give Kejriwal bail, don't give Hemant Soren bail, don't give K. Kavita bail, don't give Mani Sisodiya bail, don't give Sanjay Singh bail, keep more political prisoners in jail. Is that what it is?
Ideology. You're the last person who should be talking about morality. You're the last person who should be talking
Why is he
about
tweeting this
political
letter
ethics.
in the middle of an election? Why is the executive undermining the judiciary on Twitter of all places?
Okay, let me ask you one question then. Since you're talking about committed judiciaries, I have to intervene with a point tonight. Just 1 minute. I say don't make me open my mouth. Don't talk about Indira Gandhi. Okay, let me ask you here, viewers. People talk. 1 minute, Sanju. 1 minute, Hitesh, I will have to open my mouth now. I said don't make me open my mouth, but I will. If people are talking about Indira Gandhi, then I would like to know whether Indira Gandhi. 1 minute, Sanju, I'm making a point. People are talking about Indira Gandhi and committed judiciaries. I would like to know whether Indira Gandhi entrusted her personal property work in Allahabad to a judge immediately after his elevation to the Supreme Court.
The ghost of Indira Gandhi serves no purpose.
Secondly, just 1 minute, please. Don't get overexcited. Second is supersession of 3 judges, Justice Shelat, Justice Hegde, Justice Grover, by Indira Gandhi.
Yes.
Right? Was that done to make the
the price for it?
Well, Justice Ray led the bench which suspended fundamental rights Article 14, 21 and 22 during the emergency. Please understand. And you're talking about ideological biases. Will you say tomorrow that Abhishek Manu Singhvi has an ideological bias before the law? Will you say that Kapil Sibal has an ideological bias before the law? Will you say that Prashant Bhushan has an ideological bias before the law? That's absolute rubbish. Even I wouldn't have said it. Now viewers, where does this go, Hitesh? Hitesh and Rohan come into the debate. Already the Supreme Court. Hitesh, why did you have to write this letter? The question is, can I just request Hitesh to come in? Yeah, sure. I want to ask Hitesh, why did you have to write this letter? Why bring the Supreme Court in the middle of such a huge controversy at this time? Why bring the Supreme Court into this controversy?
Arnab, in the past 2 months, systematic and deliberate campaign that has been going on to tarnish the reputation of the judgment of the judges of the Supreme Court, the institution itself. If you would have noticed, just last week, there is the judges were reminded about the golden period, or the legacy argument was made that if a judgment is not given in a particular manner, then their legacy will be at the stake. What is this legacy at the stake? Just to merely give the judgments what this cabal wants to be given, so that the Supreme Court can give the judgment that is in favor of them. I mean, you file wrong proceedings in the Supreme Court. When you are reminded that you should go to the trial court, you keep reminding the Supreme Court about the legacy. Second, a systematic campaign is being run on the social media where you are trying to compare the judiciary with the courts in Pakistan and China. This is like
who's doing this? Who's doing this? No, you cannot just say a cabal and then
the interview was clearly seen. There were senior advocates
if there is
given such kind of an interviews. Please go and look at the social media channels. And not only that, seminars are being conducted to basically spread the reputation of the Supreme Court amongst the lawyers, young lawyers, law students that this is the Supreme Court,
Can I
which
come
is
in?
not an independent judiciary, because it is not giving a judgments in favor of you when it comes to Article 370, when it comes to Ram Temple.
I am saying
So therefore, it is a Supreme Court which is not independent, because
Arnab,
the
this whole
judgments are not of our liking. And then you
noise
remind the
making
Supreme
by
Court
the
about the
people in
legacy.
power needs to stop right now. Whatever the exchanges happen between a lawyer and the judge in the Supreme Court, it is between the lawyer and the judge. See, as soon as you bring the
Exchanges?
debate onto the
I'm
public
sorry,
platform where
exchanges?
people are going
When
to
you start
describe
threatening
and
the
talk
judges
about
on
what
the
has happened
ground
in
of
the
legacy,
court,
it is no
you're
longer
opening
an
up the whole
exchanges.
platform.
I'm
Anybody can
sorry,
say anything.
this is not
Here
an
the
exchange
point
in the
is,
courtroom,
the man
because
who's
you
the
are
Bar
openly
Association
threatening the
president,
judges.
he was the one who broke all protocol. He wrote a letter to the president of India saying that the judgment on the electoral bond, it was wrong. This should be taken back.
Well, that is
The
not
people
the
in this,
protocol. That is
whoever has given the
you have
bonds
adopted a
need to be
judicial
protected
remedy, and
after the
that's
Supreme
fine.
Court
You
overturned
have not
the
got the
judgment.
remedy in
I
your
am not a
favor,
lawyer
but you
here,
have not
but this is
criticized
the
the judges
basic courtesy
after
which
the
I think
electoral bond
went
judgment.
out of the
Nobody
door.
criticized
This
the Supreme
opened the
Court.
can of,
Nobody criticized
the
the
whole
Chief
can
Justice.
of worms, where the president of the Bar Association is blaming the Supreme Court judgment and
It
writing
is
to the
very
president of
simple.
India.
There is
This
a
the biggest
simple
problem today.
playbook at the play.
Opposition is
The
not
court
in
is
power.
independent
Opposition has the
until
courts
it
to go to
rules
when they
in their
think there is
favor,
a case
or
can be
else
made.
everything,
But outside of that, there is
integrity
nothing
of
we can
judges,
do.
must be questioned.
And for us to not
This
to
is
go
what
to the
is
court is
happening.
taking away that one last resort we have for going to the public with an open and an even playground. Today, Mr. Harish Salve
may I
represents
ask
the
you,
government in the electoral
Rohan,
bond case.
Rohan,
He's a brilliant lawyer. No doubt he can
Rohan, one
represent the
minute,
government. He can represent a private
Rohan,
individual, anyone for that matter.
Rohan.
But when he puts his letter
Rohan,
out in the public domain
Rohan,
and when the Prime
Rohan.
Minister retweets it, it is going to be a political matter where the political parties will have an opinion. It's not undermining the Supreme Court in any way.
Of course, it is undermining when you challenge the legacy of the Supreme Court.
Well, I will intervene and say one thing here. I will intervene and say one thing here. I will intervene and say one thing here. Just one point I want to make. One point I want to make. We all agree tonight, right? We all agree tonight about Harish Salve, right? Everyone, even his worst critics, would say that he is the most outstanding jurist in the country today. When he speaks, everyone listens, the court listens. You think we will forget what happened in 2021 when a brilliant, astute and sharp senior advocate like Harish Salve's appointment as amicus curiae in a case where the Supreme Court was talking about taking cognizance of the COVID situation in the whole country was questioned by those like Dushyant Dave, who went to say at that point of time all kinds of things? Was it not disgusting how there are certain people who file an application to intervene in the Supreme Court case hearing in the COVID matter just to oppose Harish Salve being amicus curiae and aiding the court? You will say today that it is very good for the country that we have a person like Harish Salve who is representing us in the International Court of Justice in the Kulbhushan Jadhav case. You will say it's excellent that he's representing us globally, but when he becomes amicus curiae in the COVID case, you attack him personally. You think that is not a personal attack? You want me to remind you about it? Exactly. I mean, you have lost all sense of balance. And the question being put today, why is the Prime Minister speaking? I'm saying, why should the Prime Minister not speak? Do you think Prime Minister of the country should be happy at the kind of attacks that the Supreme Court is being made?
He is the head of the executive.
Do you think the Prime Minister of the country should be quiet and mute at the kind of attacks we've seen on the Supreme Court? Terrible what's going on. Terrible.
Attack the Supreme Court of India. He's the one who wrote a letter to the President of India superseding the Supreme Court judgment and saying that the Supreme Court has to be stopped. He's the one. He's sitting right there. He's defending the government. After that, what is the fair? What is the open list out there? He's the one who opened this can of worms.
The moment Prime Minister endorsed what Harish Salve and 500 plus other lawyers said, आप लोगों को पेट में दर्द होने लगा. And by the way, let me just tell you,
of course होगा, क्योंकि politics है, हम लोग politics में हैं. Politics में, if we are in politics, we are going to speak up. If the Prime Minister is going to make a political point, he's going to say that the Congress has taken advantage of the situation. When the Congress is not in power in the country, obviously the parties or opposition parties are going to report and rebut that. That is the politics of India. That is where it is. That is what
or left dispensations. and went on to become either Rajya Sabha members or were elected from Lok Sabha.
So Mr. Ranjan Gogoi, Arnab, let me
judges
remind you,
or
Mr.
Supreme Court
Ranjan
judges.
Gogoi
So
and
next time you talk
three
about
of the
Harish
other
Salve,
judges
I
in
will ask you about
2018
Aftab
went to
Alam.
the press
Next time you
saying
talk
that the
about Harish
appointments of the
Salve,
judges,
I will ask you about
who are hearing the
KS.
court
Next
cases
time you talk about
is
Harish
wrong,
Salve,
especially in the Justice Boya case.
I think I would like to read from the letter. Rohan, I would like to read from the letter. I would like to read from the letter. I would, and I'm getting an extraordinary amount of support for Harish Salve tonight, which only reminds us about the stature of the man. Now, Hitesh Jain and Abhishek and Pankaj will be brought into the debate because they've been rather quiet along with Adish. The letter says, this interest group operates in various ways. They create false narratives of a supposed better past. Oh, times were better earlier. The court situation is terrible now. Golden period of the courts contrasted to the terrible situation now. These are nothing but intentional statements made to sway court decisions and to embarrass the courts for certain political gains. Implication being that if the courts do not give an interim stay in the implementation of the CA, which I think they are good in fact, I don't think that is a matter that should have gone before the courts, because these are matters of policy that the government, the elected executive of the day has complete control of. My question here is, my question here is that there's an attempt to say, oh, if you do not give us an interim stay, remember, we can put out a lot of podcasts against you. We can put out a lot of articles against you. We can put out a lot of editorials against you. We'll put out articles in websites against you. We'll besmirch you. We will make blasphemous comments against you. We'll put pressure on you. We'll try and tarnish your legacy. At the end of your judicial career, we will make life terrible for you. This is a form of blackmail.
This letter is just rhetoric.
Anyway,
No facts.
Hitesh has written the letter.
No proof.
No
facts, no proof.
They are signatories. They have written the letter.
No cases are
Tell them. Hitesh is responding. Be quiet. Be quiet. Don't be. Louder, Hitesh, louder.
Supreme Court is time and again reminded that if you are not going to grant the relief, as we are requesting, it is your legacy at the stake. It means you are not independent. It means the judges are biased.
Let him speak. Don't say who.
Compare yourself to China and Pakistan. This is the kind of attack that is being fed by
Let
this
him speak. Don't intervene now. Hold you back.
Which case?
First thing, they have to listen. I mean, instead of just shouting, they have to see. They have done enough shouting. They have
1 minute, don't repeat.
Confidence of people is shaken because of the allegations made by them against
Louder
the
for Hitesh.
The common man is no longer feeling confident because of the kind of allegations that have been made. They name call the judges. If they don't get the orders, then
anyway, I believe. Anyway, I am of
you have the courage to name one lawyer.
1 minute, can you be quiet? I'll be shake for a while. I'm holding you back. I am anyway of you, Hitesh.
You cannot.
Hitesh,
it is the institution at its stake.
Yeah, but Hitesh,
common people still have a faith in the judiciary.
But now what will happen,
Hitesh?
What will happen, Hitesh?
You're tarnishing the reputation of the institution.
The difference
between
the lawyer and the layman is
Will you stop it now, Abhishek? I'm holding you back.
Between the lawyer and the layman is
Mute him. No, 1 minute. You're wasting my... Not on the windows right now. Abhishek, don't try to do this, please. There are other senior panelists on the debate, including the President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, if you must be allowed to speak. Mr. Agarwal, my elementary point to you tonight is this. See, whatever your intentions have been, Mr. Agarwal, and I know that you're an honorable man and a man of great experience in the bar. However, the negative will be that now the Supreme Court will be in the middle of this controversy non-stop in election season, after election season. Is this a good outcome? Is this a good outcome with this controversy around the Supreme Court all the time?
I will point out that what Mr. Kapil Sibal was referring golden time. I am giving you one example of Justice Barul Islam. He was a judge. He was a member of parliament. He was made the judge of High Court. Then after he retired as Chief Justice of High Court, Guwahati High Court. After retirement, he was appointed Judge of Supreme Court. And thereafter, after retirement as a Judge of Supreme Court, he was, by Congress, he was appointed member of Rajya Sabha. That was the situation. And Justice Ranganath Mishra was the Chief Justice of India. He was also made member of Rajya Sabha from Odisha by Congress party. Not only that, he was appointed the Human Rights Division of AICC chairman immediately after retirement from Chief Justice of India. That was the legacy, that was the golden time. That's why Honorable Prime Minister, what I've seen, he has to also react when such things were being done. So that was a must by all of us, the lawyers.
But with the Prime Minister responding, with the Prime Minister, but with the Prime Minister responding, it becomes more political, doesn't it, Pankaj?
So if that was not the golden time, this is also not the golden time. If Congress did something wrong, BJP is doing the same. In last 10 years, we can give you the examples of so many people who have been given what not by BJP from the judiciary. I mean, if Congress has done something wrong, Rangnath Mishra and all that, I don't endorse all those things. But then what BJP is doing? BJP is also doing the same thing.
And if this is a golden time, then this is indeed a golden time when judgments are coming on the basis of the rule of law, not on the basis of any political legacy. But the problem is when the judgments are coming on the basis of rule of law, they are being criticized. Because the people who criticize from the lens of the politics, whether it is Hindenburg, whether it is Article 370, whether it is Ram Temple, look at the criticism, look at the attacks on the Supreme Court. I will ask you one question, Pankaj. The judgments on the electoral bond, was there a single aspersion cast by any ruling party member on the legacy of the Supreme Court or the judges of the Supreme Court? Did we name call that this is a biased judgment? It's fine. Judgments will come. We win some cases, you lose some cases.
Party could have spoken anything against this.
The judges.
No, in the electoral case, it was completely complied with. You make an argument and you comply, even if you disagree.
Merely because you are not getting the relief
strongest polarization in every sphere of our lives. So now the time to polarize the judicial arena.
Arnab, I need to quickly come in here.
There is nobody. It is in fact the people who are arguing the argument, who are canvassing the argument of legacy. They are politicizing the judicial.
You are saying, 1 minute, just 1 minute. You are saying there's an attempt to polarize the judicial arena. You are absolutely aware the maximum number of statements making very inappropriate comments on the judiciary have come from those who are anti-government. Maximum number of such comments, repeatedly, publicly.
From ruling dispensation.
Publicly, 1 minute. And he's no longer the law minister. And he's no longer the law minister. And he's no longer the law minister. Does that tell you something? Does that tell you something that he's no longer the law minister? Does it tell you something? Now, Sanju.
BJP needs to have a rebuttal. Arnab, very quickly. Arnab, just to rub salt into the ruling dispensation. Please, Mr. Sharma, you've had your turn. Arnab, just very quickly to rub salt into the wounds of the other side, the cabal. Let me remind them that, they went to the Supreme Court in all of these cases, challenging the validity of PMLA and the powers of the Enforcement Directorate. They lost. They filed case against GST and its validity. They lost. They filed case against CAA. They lost. They filed case against the validity of EVMs. They lost. They filed validity against the UAPA amendment. They lost. They filed validity against Aadhaar. They lost. They questioned the validity of the probe in Pegasus. They lost because the Supreme Court said Pegasus में कोई spy हुई ही नहीं है government द्वारा. They went to court against Ram Mandir. They lost. They went to court against Rafale. They lost. They went to court against Article 370. They lost. They went to court against instant triple talaq. They lost. They went to court against Gujarat riots. They lost. They went to court against Central Vista.
I hope we can put an end to this controversy around the Supreme Court, but I don't see this going away. Whatever is happening right now, it's very unfortunate. I believe that before elections, all that happens is we make the Supreme Court of India the center before and after elections for political issues. The Supreme Courts have to dispense justice. There are too many pending cases. If the time of the court goes endlessly in political issues, political petitions, how can people expect justice for all? Ladies and gentlemen, when I come back on the other side, Arvind Kejriwal gets his custody extended, or rather the custody is extended. But why is America coming out in support of Kejriwal and the AAP? Is there a link to what Rahul Gandhi said in the United Kingdom a few months back? When I'm back.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 private university for the 11th year by India Today, a testimony to Amity's world-class education whilst imbibing values and sanskars in students.
Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Things have got really complicated today for Arvind Kejriwal. He put together all the lawyers, he put together some of the most formidable lawyers in India to fight his case. And these criminal lawyers, the topmost in the country, gave everything they had to defend him. Everything they had to question his arrest. They put forth all their arguments, but they still lost in court. They questioned the use of approvers, they questioned the timing of the arrest, they questioned the intent of the agency, but they still lost in the court. Loss after loss after loss after loss in court for Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party. Now viewers, if there is no scam in Liquorgate, why do the biggest lawyers of the country lose in court when they stand up to fight for the Aam Aadmi Party? Are the courts biased too? Or is it the reality that there is too much evidence that the agencies have shown and the agencies have shared with the courts, with the judges, which makes even giving bail impossible for the court? Consider this, they are not even getting bail. Manish Sisodia, Satyendra Jain, Sanjay Singh, Arvind Kejriwal denied bail inside jail. The denial of interim relief by the Delhi High Court in the case of Kejriwal's arrest is yet another courtroom loss for the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, anytime the Aam Aadmi Party tells you there is no scam, just ask one question. If there is no scam, how come you're always losing in court? And we all know that in every case of arrest and bail, in
LG is saying कि सरकार जो है वो जेल से नहीं चलेगी. What would you like to say on this? LG कह रहे सरकार जेल से नहीं चलेगी.
ये एक पॉलिटिकल षड्यंत्र है, जनता इसका जवाब देगी.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 private university for the 11th year by India Today, a testimony to Amity's world-class education whilst imbibing values and sanskars in students.
Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Things have got really complicated today for Arvind Kejriwal. He put together all the lawyers, he put together some of the most formidable lawyers in India to fight his case. And these criminal lawyers, the topmost in the country, gave everything they had to defend him. Everything they had to question his arrest. They put forth all their arguments, but they still lost in court. They questioned the use of approvers, they questioned the timing of the arrest, they questioned the intent of the agency, but they still lost in the court. Loss after loss after loss after loss in court for Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party. Now viewers, if there is no scam in Liquorgate, why do the biggest lawyers of the country lose in court when they stand up to fight for the Aam Aadmi Party? Are the courts biased too? Or is it the reality that there is too much evidence that the agencies have shown and the agencies have shared with the courts, with the judges, which makes even giving bail impossible for the court? Consider this, they are not even getting bail. Manish Sisodia, Satyendra Jain, Sanjay Singh, Arvind Kejriwal denied bail inside jail. The denial of interim relief by the Delhi High Court in the case of Kejriwal's arrest is yet another courtroom loss for the...
सीएम ने कुछ बातें पिछले कुछ महीनों में कही थी. सीएम ने कहा था कि इनको मेरे से और मेरे बयानों से कोई लेना देना नहीं है, इनको सिर्फ मुझे गिरफ्तार करना है. वो बात साबित हो गई. 7 दिन की रिमांड हो चुकी है, कोई नया सबूत, कोई चीज सामने नहीं आई है.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 private university for the 11th year by India Today, a testimony to Amity's world-class education whilst imbibing values and sanskars in students.
कांग्रेस को जब से कर्नाटका में मौका मिला है तो इन्होंने कर्नाटका को अपना एटीएम बना दिया है।
Frisking has given way to F4 racing on the streets of Srinagar. Headlines now boast tourism figures, not terror fatalities. IED blasts and stone pelting have given way to the world's highest rail bridge and a state-of-art movie hall. Kashmir stealing the spotlight even at the G20. Confident Home Minister on the improving situation.
निश्चित रूप से चुनाव के बाद इस पर हम एक एक्शन प्लान बना।
डीएमके और कांग्रेस टू साइड्स ऑफ द सेम कॉइन है। डीएमके और कांग्रेस का मतलब है बिग करप्शन। डीएमके और कांग्रेस का मतलब है वन फैमिली रूल।
More legal trouble for Kejriwal. ED gets 4 more days to grill Kejriwal. Why is US interfering in Indian matters ahead of polls? Debating tonight at 10 p.m.
इंडी अलायंस वाले लोग बार बार जानबूझकर हिंदू धर्म का अपमान करते हैं। इनका हर बयान बहुत सोचा समझा हुआ होता है। डीएमके और कांग्रेस टू साइड्स ऑफ द सेम कॉइन है। डीएमके और कांग्रेस का मतलब है बिग करप्शन। डीएमके और कांग्रेस का मतलब है वन फैमिली रूल।
More legal trouble for Kejriwal. ED gets 4 more days to grill Kejriwal. Why is US interfering in Indian matters ahead of polls? Debating tonight at 10 p.m.
From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 10, powered by Reva University, Quick Heal Secrite, Policy Bazaar, co-powered by Dark Editions by Tata Motors.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. And now it's time for the nation's sharpest opinion. The Rouse Avenue Court has extended Arvind Kejriwal's custody till the 1st of April. And Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party have got a support club in America now. I don't think it's disconnected from Rahul Gandhi's democracy in danger rant when he went to America last year. In fact, it seems very similar to me and quite odd that before a general election, Washington is supporting Kejriwal. The Biden government is supporting the Congress party. What both Kejriwal and Rahul Gandhi should know is that the Cambridge Analytica model of campaigns is over and that the Indian electorate decides the fate of a democratic exercise. But that side back home today, Kejriwal himself threw everything at it. So much so that he began to argue himself before the court. Unfortunately for him, the Delhi court further extended his custody. And if we go by the kind of argument being made by Arvind Kejriwal himself in court, what is most unfortunate is that the in-jail Delhi chief minister is still wound up in the same stale vendetta argument. To convolute his explanations further, Kejriwal is now trying to allege that there's some sort of matrix between electoral bonds and the ED which have come together through the BJP to fix him. No joke, ladies and gentlemen. This is the explanation being given by the Delhi chief minister himself in court for Liquorgate. But what Kejriwal is still not being able to digest, in my view, is that the courts will go solely by the evidence, not by the profile of the accused, the intent or the profits his political opponents may reap, or any theory outside the evidence. Kejriwal's custody will be extended so long as the courts are convinced that the ED's evidence is substantial enough. And as of tonight, there is no observation by the Honorable Court in Kejriwal's arrest case that seems to suggest that the ED's evidence is under question. So, ladies and gentlemen, where is all of this going? My reading is that the ED is quickly moving on establishing the scale of the scam. And I had always said that the ED will not swoop in for arrest unless they're convinced that they will be in court able to substantiate the evidence. We have heard so far that the proceeds were poured. We're being told that they were poured into the Aam Aadmi Party campaign in Goa, but as per the remand access today, a Punjab angle has also surfaced. And the allegation is that there was a certain arm twisting of certain wholesalers in Punjab, and the Enforcement Directorate is set to get to the bottom of it. So as the ED evidence gathering gathers pace, Arvind Kejriwal, in my view, needs to think long and hard if any generalities and emotional appeals can substitute the lack of specifics in terms of answers on Liquorgate. And my view is that the time for all of that is long gone. Kejriwal should get specific if he wants to get out of the ED's custody. American help will not matter. Let's debate.
Legal trouble continues to mount for Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi Liquorgate. Court grants ED 4 more days to grill Delhi CM. Kejriwal, who appeared personally in the court, questioned the grounds of his arrest. He accused the ED of trying to create a smokescreen of AAP being corrupt.
CM sir, LG is saying कि सरकार जो है वो जेल से नहीं चलेगी. What would you like to say on this? LG कह रहे सरकार जेल से नहीं चलेगी. ये एक पॉलिटिकल षड्यंत्र है, जनता इसका जवाब देगी.
The ED has redirected its gaze towards Punjab.
The Punjab link has emerged in the liquor scam probe. Enforcement Directorate says that excise officials in Punjab were threatening wholesalers here in the national capital. Not just that, they also say that a senior Aam Aadmi Party leader has been under the scanner because there were meetings that were actually taking place in Punjab and in the national capital to implement the same very excise policy in the state of Punjab with the same beneficiaries.
The politics over Kejriwal's arrest continues to rage on.
ईडी के रेड के बाद मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के अक्यूज्ड कंपनियों का सबसे ज्यादा पैसा भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पास चंदे के रूप में आया है, इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड्स के रूप में आया है।
आम आदमी पार्टी का राजनीतिक चरित्र ये रहा है कि वो हमेशा ड्रामेबाजी और नौटंकी इस प्रकार की राजनीति तो करते ही हैं, परंतु जिस तरीके से कोर्ट के पावन फ्लोर को भी अपनी राजनीतिक ड्रामा और अपने राजनीतिक नौटंकी का एक अड्डा बनाने का प्रयास किया गया, यह आज पूरे देश ने देखा।
Why is Kejriwal not cooperating with the probe agencies if he has nothing to hide? Let's debate.
And what I'm concerned about is the growing support from the United States of America for Kejriwal. And I want to start by asking Kartikeya, because he's a political commentator and also a lawyer based in the US. Kartikeya, why is America coming out in repeated support for Kejriwal? You know, not once, not twice, repeatedly. After being ticked off by the government as well, repeatedly we are seeing here a lot of support from America for Kejriwal. Why?
Well, Arnab, the US has had a long history of interfering in elections. I mean, we've known that throughout the world, and especially in Asia. So it could be a combination of things, or it could be one of these things. It's either interference or it's moral righteousness. You know, speaking morality from the pulpit has been America's habit. Or worse, it could actually be that America stands to lose something in regards to its interference goals in the elections of India with Kejriwal's arrest. Kejriwal's funding in the past in his organizations has been dubious. You know, he's received funding from Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation has close links with, the so-called US deep state. And also connect that with the recent revelation, although I don't take him at face value at all, but if at all there's some grain of truth in the recent revelation by Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, that Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party were recipients of money from Khalistani elements. Connect that with the fact that Gurpatwant Singh is, at least it is widely believed that he is an intelligence asset for the United States, or at least he is a useful person for the United States. And him throwing Kejriwal under the bus because Kejriwal now is no longer of value, or doesn't seem to be any longer of value because of all these corruption allegations against him. And then the US standing up for him to essentially embarrass India in the global stage, and also to try to interfere in the elections. That could be another connection. I mean, it might be worth probing that as well. But as of now, based on evidence so far, it just seems to be that US is back to its regular habit of moral interference and sermonization to the world at large. Whereas in fact, it's they themselves have an issue with how unfairly Donald Trump has been prosecuted and I would even say persecuted in a sense, by misusing the laws and with these crazy bond amounts. And no matter what you think about Donald Trump, whether you support him politically or not, electorally or not, doesn't matter. The fact is that Donald Trump is a principal opposition candidate, and the way they are bringing up one charge after another against it, the US does not see any issue with that. Any problem with that, but there's an issue with a fair process that is actually going on in India. And if you think about it, if the ED demand gets over and there is nothing really to justify his continued arrest, Kejriwal will be released by the courts on bail. So again, I don't see why the US is prematurely making these statements when really the process is going on according to the law of the land.
Okay. I'll get Anmol into this. Tuhin, and coming to you, Akashdeep, in a minute. Anmol, it would be, in my view, very appropriate if the Aam Aadmi Party as an Indian political party were to put out a press statement telling America to stay out of our internal affairs. This is getting too much. And I think it will blow back against you. People are angry that, why are you allowing America to get into Indian politics? Question Indian courts, question the Indian legal system, and what benefit can you possibly gain out of something like this? It will not work for you. In fact, the little support you have, they will also be angry that you are accepting American support. Now, you can say that we didn't ask for the support, but you are the beneficiary of their support. And it's a very ugly situation, isn't it? To be the beneficiary of American support, you need support in India. You don't need support in Miami or from New York tonight. So I think you should put out a statement, and maybe you will tonight. Maybe you will make that statement right now, Anmol.
And at the outset, I want to make it clear that the US must refrain from getting into our internal issues of our country. But at the same time, we must also consider the fact that they are our allies, and that Prime Minister Modi few months back went to the US and said that we have more stronger partnership in comparison to the past. We must also keep in mind that the way central government agencies are working right now at the behest of Bharatiya Janata Party, which is a matter of great concern, and the people of this country is slowly realizing the reality behind all this drama and all this false implication of opposition party leaders.
But do you need American support? I mean, you must make a categorical statement of it. I think the point tonight is this, Tuhin, and we need to really talk about it. You know how people were angry in India when Rahul Gandhi went to America and he said that the government of America must interfere in India. But right now, three times the government of America, State Department, all coming out in support of Aam Aadmi Party. Kartikeya says that you got Ford Foundation funding in the past. There is an American support base, American government support base, quasi-government American support base that the Aam Aadmi Party gets. Now the American government comes out in your support. They must be your worst enemies, because with every statement they are making, you're going to lose ground here. India is going through a nationalist renaissance. People are very, very assertive about India's sovereign rights. You cannot be the beneficiary of foreign interference in our sovereign affairs. Tuhin, the issue is, why is USA backing Kejriwal to it? It's an extraordinary situation.
Well, Arnab, the US and the world needs to realize that India's sovereignty is non-negotiable. You know, of course, in the past, we have had a Congress government which, after every bomb blast, would run to the US seeking their intervention and requesting them to act against Pakistan. But this is a different government, a very confident government, which even at the time when Article 370 was abrogated, did it with a lot of acumen and ensured that there was no interference in India's internal affairs. So for the US to comment on the judicial process in India is absolutely non-acceptable. Having said that, India considers US a very close ally. You have differences of opinion with the best of friends, and in such a situation, it helps to be absolutely frank with the friend, which is what India has communicated to the US. Now, like you mentioned very correctly, you know, probably it's the handiwork of some of the woke lobbies operating within the state government, State Department in US. But I think we have politicians over here to blame. People like Rahul Gandhi, who have been relentlessly traveling abroad in the last 2 years and building up this facade or this, you know, distorted image of India, that in India institutions have failed. And like you mentioned, in one of his visits, he had actually asked the US to interfere. Last week, when the Congress did a press conference and when they completely spread misinformation about their funds being frozen by the court, which again was a blatant lie. You know, these are the people who are giving a cue to the US to you know, possibly believe that it is okay to interfere. So I think Indian political parties, especially these disgruntled opposition parties, need to behave responsibly at this point of time. And I appreciate the AAP spokesperson over here taking a clear stand that the US intervention is not appreciated. I appreciate that as well. I hope the Congress also does that, because the primary culprit over here is the Congress
that's
party,
the breaking news, in
which
fact,
over the last 2 years has been besmirching. The primary culprit over here is the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi, who over a period of last 2 years have been, very intentionally besmirching India's reputation globally, questioning India's institutions from